Sick vandalism. That is a deliberate mutilation of a public service message. Now, I want those little paint-happy bastards caught and hung up by their Lou Diamonds.
A third of the people love you, a third don't care about you, and a third hate you. So you concentrate on the third that love you and you go for it.
I think the greatest Achilles heel for leaders is they don't give themselves time to think.
So my journey is one of those, like, there are a lot of detours. There's a lot of going off on the side roads.
Thrive Out listeners, you're in for a treat. We're here with Jamal Mashburn, Jesse Itzler, the John Maxwell, Jackie the Joke Man Martling, New York Rangers great Mike Richter, Lisa Lampanelli, Mary Carrillo.
Oh, how nice.
I'm actually going through the practice of being an entrepreneur.
Pick yourself up, brush yourself off, and thrive loud.
Get ready to thrive loud with Lou Diamond.
I love it.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, connecting you to the most inspiring and amazing people that are thriving each and every day. I am your host, Lou Diamond. Today on Thrive Loud, we have two women that have a gift for making people laugh. One is from a large and very loud Sicilian family, where she learned the best way to be heard is to tell a great story and make people laugh. The other works as a counselor, interventionist, and hypnotherapist, and is often asked in many online dating forums if hypnosis works for erectile dysfunction. Together, they are about to launch an amazing podcast program called Laugh at First Swipe, which we'll dive into more detail in this conversation. I am certain, Thrive Loud listeners, I bring you the dynamic duo who are ready to have fun and educate the whole world on what's really going on, Nancy Giere and Cindy Mayne. Nancy and Cindy, how are you today?
Excellent.
Great.
Spectacular. Well, I'm very glad these one-word responses here are going to be going to work well. So we'll start off by saying that Nancy and I met recently, and we met as the, I guess, inception of your podcast came to be. And I think the best way to kick things off on this podcast program is maybe for both of you to explain a little bit of how the two of you met and how this idea came up. Nancy, I'll start off with you and have you get the ball rolling, and we'll let Cindy roll in appropriately. That sound fair?
All right. Well, Cindy and I met at a women's sailing seminar near San Francisco about 2 years ago.
Okay.
And we just became instant friends, and we started talking about, what's going on in our lives and the whole online dating space. And we're just laughing about it so much we could hardly stand it, and realized we should really be out there and talking about this. Because it's this common denominator between so many people. And she's lucky that she has met a great partner. I'm still searching. And I think there are more people in my situation that are trying to find the right person. And it's really hard in the digital world. And we thought, well, you know what? If we're not laughing, we'd be crying. We'd much rather be laughing about all of this.
Cindy, I want to jump to you for a second. And I guess... Were you married before, or you've just recently met someone? Give us a little bit of your social background here, if you could.
Okay. So yes, I've been married before, and I was single for a long time. And then I met someone online about 5 or 6 years ago and married them. It was a really short marriage. And so at the point that I had met Nancy, I was pretty much single, dating the guy that I'm with now. And Nancy and I just had a lot of laughs about dating situations. And I was at that point getting more serious in my relationship, which was awesome. And I was just feeling kind of sorry for Nancy having to go through all this other stuff. It was kind of sucks.
You're feeling sorry for me?
Well, I think I want to bring this up because this is actually an interesting topic. We're going to do a little education for the listeners who are maybe not as familiar with what goes on in online dating and just the technical forum of that. We're going to get into that, and then we're going to talk about some of the fun stuff here. Nancy, if you could, because you've explained this to me.
Yes.
Explain, I guess, the perspective as a woman entering the digital dating world and what you're using. And you can leave the names of the apps out or not, what it is, but there's a unique thing of what you can see and what you can't see. Help the uneducated listener who doesn't know, bring them up to speed, if that helps.
And then I'd like to add, Lou, that there are some things that you can't unsee when you're out online. So basically, there's all kinds of sites out there, and many of them are general. Some are real niche focused, anywhere from a faith-based type of a site to people that like to wear diapers and just about everything in between. I'm not on the diaper site. Just want you all to know that right now. But everything in these dating starts, it begins with a profile. So if you think about, people take a lot of care what they put out on LinkedIn, for example. You talk about who you are, where you're from, what your profession is. And then, if more social sites like Facebook, then you get into more personal things about people. So you have on most of these sites about a paragraph to write about yourself. And then you need to put up pictures. And the pictures should be like a nice headshot and then some different lifestyle shots. And I'm astounded at the types of photographs that people will put out there. There's like there's the bathroom selfie. Why are you in a bathroom taking a picture of yourself? What is that all about? I mean, seriously. There's a lot of men will take pictures of themselves with fish. I don't quite understand unless that's, hey, I can provide for you. I think it would be funny if they transitioned and they just went to the grocery store and stood at the fish counter and said, yeah, baby, right here, whatever you want, I'll give it. Sometimes a picture in a car, pictures with drug tigers. It's just like this, trying to get someone's attention, but maybe not necessarily in the best way. Because everything, we're visual people. If we were back in the day meeting people in a public session, you'd see somebody across the room, you'd make eye contact, you kind of check each other out, and then you decide to have a conversation. And then the conversation, you learn more about each other and what you have in common. Well, when you're doing this in the digital space, the initial communication back and forth is like a text message. And you can't really say a whole lot. And then eventually you try to move to a phone call. And then if you talk on the phone and you think, okay, there might be something here, then you'll move to meeting in person. But it's a numbers game. And I finally realized, oh my God, I'm in sales. and I think it's funny because women will put a lot, from what I know, I can only maybe speak for myself. I'd love to see more women's profiles, but we're going out and we're getting our hair done and we're having a nice professional headshot taken. And then we're getting, there should be like a shot of your body, the full body shot, then, lifestyle shots of doing different things. We put a lot of care into what we're doing. And then what do we get when we go and look? The bathroom selfie.
so Cindy, I want to transition to you for a second.
Men's room.
Yeah. So Cindy, I want to transition to you in this particular case. So in rounding this out, you guys can only see other men in this particular, in most of these sites, as that's who your dating interest is here. And then from there, at that point, once you decide to swipe, for that matter, this will determine whether or not you can get to the next step. Correct, Cindy? I'll just let you fill in the blanks there.
Yeah, correct. Just looking up. We just looked up when I was online dating. It was just looking at men, and of course, when Nancy. And let me go back to. I didn't feel sorry for Nancy for any other reason that it's really hard, the online dating thing. So that's why I felt sorry for her. I didn't want her to have to go through that because she's an awesome person. So sorry, Nancy.
No, I think she's gotten over it. I think she was just rubbing it in on that point. But this is actually a good point. So here you are. You guys have a perspective, and it's a view of all of this. I love the horns we have going on in the background.
I don't know what's happening. They're coming to get me. Normally, this is
if you're interested in dating Nancy. Now,
she's in prison now. Right. There's a site for that too.
So now, once you two have recognized that you have a one-sided perspective into seeing the available men that are out there, at what point did the two of you get together and say, you know what would be a great idea? Let's talk about some of the ridiculous comedy that we've seen, like the bathroom selfie or whatever it is, or the picture with the fish, and now decided that you wanted to put together a program to share this experience with a very, interestingly, large growing audience in the universe here of those online dating and a little bit older, right? So, Nancy, you want to give a little bit of where this idea came to be? Or how this idea?
Well, we've been talking about wanting to put together some kind of a podcast, and we had several different ideas that crossed our path, but nothing really quite gelled until one evening we were sitting in a jazz club in San Carlos, California, where I'm living now, and Cindy grabbed my phone. She's like, "I'm going to fix this for you. I'm going to start swiping to find you the right person." Well, one thing I've kind of come to is that we like different kinds of people, or she was just, or she was just, randomly swiping just to make my life more interesting. But as we were talking and laughing, we had all people around us in this lounge going, what are you guys doing? What's happening? So we started talking about, well, we're looking at these dating profiles and we're just kind of to see, who's showing up for me this week. And the people around us were so interested in what we were doing. And they were like, oh man, have I got a story? Have I got a story? Everybody around us had a story of something crazy that happened to them. I don't think anybody had a story about, hey, this is how I met the love of my life. And at that moment, we looked at each other and we were like, this is what we need to talk about, because it's become the way that people meet and connect. It's, we're hiding behind these digital platforms, and it's not easy to just go out to a restaurant or a lounge or a sporting event, whatever. It's harder to meet people in person today. So, what's happened to us as a society that this is now how we meet people?
Yeah, I think this is a perfect segue to Cindy, who has an interesting background, obviously, in acting as coach. And as I mentioned at the beginning, helping people out in this regard. Cindy, the mindset as it relates to online dating or digital dating for that matter. I don't think the word online is I think I just dated myself in online dating here. The mindset in digital dating, because I think a lot of people, would you say it's mostly successful? Would you say that it's very frustrating? Or would you say it is the form and there are things that you're hoping that this program will help maybe lighten the conversation, but also bring a little bit more of awareness to those on it?
Yes, I think so. I think that because of my background in psychology and as a counselor, I found that it was a disconnect, and I thought that was really sad. So I come from this place of helping people do things better, helping people's lives be healthier in mind, body, and spirit. So I look at it that, when you go places, we were at a restaurant the other night, and everyone that you looked at, for the most part, even in sitting at the same table, were on their phones. And I think there's this connection that people are missing. And again, even as a counselor, some of the jobs that I've been offered are doing counseling on the computer. And I just don't feel like you can connect with somebody that way. And I believe that people can learn to connect better using the online dating platform, but also go to the next step in a healthier way.
So I actually like this from a different perspective, as I talk about connecting all the time and actually trying to get from your screens to the scene, so to speak. I'm putting that in quotes.
Yeah.
I just came up with that right now. I thought that sounded pretty good. You can use that, Nancy and Cindy. You were driving them offline to meet in person or speak in person. And one of my favorite parts about the medium we are recording this on is, whereas the images, or I guess soon we'll get to video in the apps that are on there if they haven't gotten there already, the images on the screen tell one story. The ability to connect and listen, which podcasts will be able to do, being able to poke fun of it a little bit. I'm curious to know without letting too much out of the bag, where you guys are thinking some of these conversations will go. Obviously, the two of you can banter back and forth and maybe pick a topic. Give us a little bit of a sampler, if you would, of where you're thinking you're going to head as it relates to Laugh at First Swipe, because I think it'll be a great listen to bring people off their screens into their ears and hopefully start meeting in person and talking more about it. That was a jump ball.
Well, one thing that I think would be one thing that we think is really going to be important is that we want to get other people to come on and tell their stories. We've started doing some interviews and reaching out to people because Cindy and I have a lot of funny stories. Sadly, maybe we have too many funny stories about what we've experienced. But as we're out and we're talking to other people, and what they run into is equally interesting. And we're all just regular people encountering a lot of people that are kind of crazy. We had one person talking about how he'd gone into this woman's house and the walls were black and she had candles lit. And the first thing she did was want to offer him a drink. Now, would you take a drink from that person, Lou?
Not today.
Right. And then he said something like, I don't know what's worse, being killed or kept. I mean, we're running into these people. And it's funny to me because I really believe there's a lot of really good people out there, and we're all just kind of thrashing around and we're trying to run into each other, and we don't. Because why does everybody have so many funny stories? Or I read something the other day, and a woman said that she had gone on a date with a man, and he said he was a medium, and that wasn't her size. It wasn't his size. He was a medium, and her dead grandmother was having dinner with him. I mean, what? When is that going to happen? Or people that I've met along the way, one guy actually brought a notebook, and he was writing down everything that I said, and was like, "Man, did you think you found me on Angie's List? Not Match." It was. He wanted to know all about my domestic skills and very little about me as a person, but just, was I going to be able to, keep the house clean? And the best part was he asked me what type of lawnmower I prefer, riding mower or push mower.
What was it?
Yeah, I outsourced that activity. Yeah, so I got to, for all of you that may have an interest, I have never cut a lawn in my whole life, and I don't plan on starting to do so now. But the way that people it's like we become socially awkward. We don't know how to just sit and talk and have a conversation and just really let things flow and get to know.
So I want to ask this question because I've always been curious about this. Before there was online dating, before there was computer dating, online dating, digital dating, phone app dating, whatever you want to call it, before the medium had this, and we actually had to physically go out and meet people because that was the only way. I would imagine because of whether we knew it or not, the ability to find people might have actually been harder. Whereas with so many more people on the planet and so many more means to try to meet people, you would think that this would increase the likelihood of connecting with someone, which obviously in Cindy's case, it has worked. What do you guys think? Do you think it's added just more clutter and noise and makes it harder to focus with so many options out there? Or if it went away completely, would it actually make things better? I'm curious to know what you guys think.
Well, I don't think that it needs to go away completely, but I think there has to be some balance. And I do know that what we've found is a lot of the younger people don't even online date, which I thought was interesting because it's kind of their thing, their time to be on this online thing. But I believe that going back to a little balance and meeting people in person, or using the platform correctly so that you can have these connections. So you asked, I think one of the questions you were asking was that what happened in the old days. So for me in the old days, it was like meeting people in bars. That's how I met people, in bars, not usually at jobs that I had, because I always worked with criminals and different people, and I didn't really want to date them, of course. But
now they're showing up online.
now they're showing up online in the gated communities. But what I found was that, I was a substance abuse counselor for many, many years, and that was not something you ever wanted to tell anybody. And they say, "What do you do for a living?" Well, everybody's having a drink, and you tell them what you do for a living. I could clear a room. I can tell you that right now. So I didn't get a lot of dates telling people what my job was. But I think the answer, the question that you had was,
But hold on, I'll jump in. The question I was asking was, are we better off with it or without it? And you think it probably is helping us, yes?
Yes.
Okay, good. So now I agree with you. I think it's increasing the probabilities and it's giving more option, and maybe makes makes us have more options out there. And that actually is where I wanted to go with this, is there are a ton of apps out there. And
oh my gosh.
And
crazy
Nancy,
how many there are.
And Nancy, I was going to ask you, I guess, how do you, as someone who enters the digital dating scene, how do you choose which way to go, what to go into, or what's the fiefdoms, I guess you can go? And I know they can be specific based on maybe religion or certain types of locations and things like that. How does it work for you to be able to pick which one to go to?
That's a real challenge. And what I have done is I've gone on and off of different sites, because when you show up as new, you get a lot of attention. So I'll be on one site for about 3 months, and then I'll go off of it and maybe pick up another one. And the one that I've had the most success on is called Bumble. And in Bumble, you'll see different profiles of men, and then the woman gets to choose whether or not you want to interact with someone. So you're doing some sorting there. And then there's other sites that I haven't done anything that's really a niche site because I haven't found the niche sites that I've seen have not been my niche. So it's been things like Match or Zeus or then there's senior specific ones. Sadly, I qualify for those now, and I'm taking a look at one of those sites as well. And I could also move into an active lifestyle community. Maybe that's what I need to do. That might be the thing. I'd be one of the youngest ones there, so So now, trophy wife.
Yeah, I want to ask this question because this is interesting, and this will jump ball for either one of you. A lot of people are entering the dating world at different stages of their lives. Maybe they're newly entering the dating pool and they're trying to figure out if they want something serious or they just want to have fun. I guess that's actually a really good question, and how you're able to kind of nail down you're looking for a serious relationship as opposed to maybe those that are more focused on having a little more fun. How do you distinguish that? More notably, and how are you guys going to make fun of that when you guys have that as a topic on your show?
Well, one thing that I can say is on one of the sites, people will specifically say, looking long-term relationship to something casual. And so they'll put it out there and they'll be straight up what they're looking for. So you can choose to respond or not respond. Depending on the sites, though, it seems like one element in all of this hasn't changed since back, I hadn't dated since I was in college. So that was a long time ago. And it comes down to who wants to have sex with who.
Right. At the end of the day.
It's still, right? The men are still, you think they're a little bit old, a little bit wise, a little bit more gentlemanly. No, they still want to have sex. We all still want to have sex. But it's like that becomes, you're still kind of in that, doing that dance with somebody. Are you somebody that I really want to spend time with? Are you someone that I think I can build a friendship with, a relationship with? Or are you someone that just is looking for a one night stand? And you have to be just as careful, I think, screening people in that mode as if you had met somebody in any other location. So I agree that we have lots of options, and I've met some very interesting people that I would not have met if I wasn't in this world of digital dating. Some have been really good people, some have been kind of nutty, and there's a pattern that seems to repeat itself. I'll meet somebody and I'll go, oh, it seems like a nice guy. I'd like to get to know him better. And then he might be, not so much. Or they'll look at me and go, boy, I think she's terrific. I would like to get to know her. And I'll go, not so much. And that pattern seems to just be coming up over and over again because you're meeting a lot of people. I mean, I can have 10 people show up in a week and, just working your way down the chain. And what I think is unfortunate is for whatever reason, a lot of people just don't, they don't want to have a current picture of themselves. Mm-hmm. They overinflate everything. You're going to see the person in real life and you're going to go, I thought you had brown hair. And you've got a full head of gray hair. Well, okay. Right. That sends a message. If you're not honest about that, what else maybe perhaps aren't you being truthful about? I mean, I get it. We all want to put our absolute best selves out there, but it's got to be real. It's got to be who you really are.
Cindy,
or learn how to spell. I mean, you have one paragraph. Get it right.
So Cindy, I was going to ask this question. Do you foresee a situation where the show is going to have where you bring on men on the show and have a conversation about that from their perspective?
Oh, absolutely. And we have had a couple interviews with men. One of them was an amazing younger man than us. He's about his 40s, and he was talking about self-esteem, and he was giving some really good advice on, women and how they present and how they can really just love themselves more. And I think that's a really great part of this, is to help people see that, they don't have to put up the fake pictures or the pictures that are, 10 years younger, but just to love themselves. And I remember when Nancy and I spoke with him, how that felt really good to me, for him to give that good information to help other people to look at themselves and who they are from the inside out, just not the way they look.
I like it.
I mean, he talked about someone who, by the time she took off her wig, false nails, even said maybe part of her nose, I don't know. But I mean, she literally had completely transformed herself, had on a body shaper, had on there was all this makeup, where he was like, wow, who are you? Are you the same person I just spent an evening with?
Yeah, I guess it's true where you see what you are, and I like the message here of not only bringing people off the screens into real life to meet them, but also getting to see if the two have some similarity whatsoever.
Exactly. We're going to find out eventually.
Oh, I know. Right. That's a great point. So speaking of finding out eventually, let's learn a little bit about the two of you here so our listeners can connect more with the two folks behind those who laugh at first swipe. So I'm going to ask this question first to Nancy, then to Cindy. And you guys can answer. See, Cindy, I'm giving you a little more leeway on this half, but don't worry, Nancy, I'll flip it around on the next question so that you have more time to answer. Okay, so both of you can answer this question, which is a question I ask most of the guests on Thrive Loud. When either of you have trouble thriving, who or what practice do you seek to help get yourself back on the thriving track? And Nancy, you go first.
Okay, well, there are two go-to things that I do fairly regularly. I will get outside and I will walk. And I find that just when I'm moving, that it clears up my thinking. I'll have some music going and I'll just walk and walk and walk and walk. And whatever was troubling me will leave because I've done that physical activity.
All right. Yeah.
The other thing that I'll do, and this is often like if, let's say I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm panicked because what's happening to my life? Why am I here? What's going on? I will get out a book and I'll just journal and I'll write and write and write until whatever was troubling me seems to just clear my system. So those two things kind of engaging my mind and my body in some way just clears the clutter.
I like it. All right, Cindy, same question to you.
Well, first of all, let me add, Nancy, you also call your counselor friend sometimes to get a little advice. So good to have a counselor as a friend, I think. It doesn't cost you any money.
I know I have all these friends that are counselors. What does that say about me?
So what I do is I meditate and I sail a lot. And in my regular everyday job, I have a lot of stress because working with people is pretty stressful and it takes a lot of energy away from me. So to feed my soul, like I said, I sail and I meditate and I am an artist. So I get to do those things and it really helps, make me feel better about a lot of things.
I'll get back to the follow-up question a little later here, but I'm going to let you guys take care of the admin part of the show. Nancy or Cindy, share with the listeners everywhere where people are going to be able to find the program, learn more about you, social media, however you want to do it for the show holistically or yourselves individually. This is the moment to do that.
Okay. Well, the first place is we'll have our website, laughatfirstswipe.com. And that will be the primary place to find out more about us and what's happening. And we'll be able to find it out on the social platforms as well. Okay. I have a website for me. Should I continue?
Yeah, keep going. We'll put it in there.
Okay, sorry, I got lost. I was going to start talking about myself. So you can find more about me as a humorous speaker at nancygiere.com, and that's Giere. And you can find me under that on Facebook and LinkedIn as well.
Awesome. And Cindy, where can people find you?
People can find me on Cindy Mayne, CindyMayne.com. And I have a blog there for anyone that needs any information on getting help for themselves or loved ones in any type of hypnotherapy and referrals. And I can help people with that on that website.
Great. And we'll put all of this in the show notes.
And I help people.
Yeah, go ahead, Nancy.
I'm sorry, and I help people. I just make them laugh. That's my gift.
I'm looking forward to hearing what this show is. I'm going to be curious. I wonder if the funny side or the straight side comes out from both you guys to see which ends up being what we all want to hear.
Well,
depends
on if we're on location in a bar.
It depends if alcohol's involved in the podcast or not.
That's right.
So I'm going to ask the standard question, and I have a bunch of other ones, and that's what we'll get a chance for Cindy to go first and Nancy for follow up. But I'll start off with the standard question here, which, what is your all-time favorite movie? And Cindy, you can go first on this one.
My all-time favorite movie is Defending Your Life.
Oh, I love that flick. Albert Brooks and Meryl Streep, for that matter. Yes.
Yeah. I love that movie.
I'm a big fan of the scene when they run through a myriad of things that Albert Brooks has done in his life, which is either something that showed fear where he was scared, or maybe more notably was just complete stupidity. And it was just a myriad of all these crazy things. It's one of my favorite montages ever. And Nancy, over to you. What's your favorite movie?
My favorite movie of all time is The Godfather.
And which is one of our more popular ones here on this show. Any particular scene that always resonates with you in that movie?
I think, well, in Godfather Part 2, when Kay tells Michael that she had an abortion.
It's some of the best acting ever, by the way.
Just didn't want anything to do with it. And that scene, and there's somewhere in that area when, he closes the door in her face and she knows that he's in this whole world that she will never, ever be a part of. And it resonates with me, not saying that being Sicilian, that, I'm connected, but a lot of the wedding scenes and a lot of the family-based parts of it really ring true with me. And it's just a wonderful storyline.
Right, so now I'm going to ask the fun question here regarding this program. But that way, we'll have everything in the show notes about you guys, all the links to the podcast program, which I'm eager for other people to hear because I think it's a great concept and everyone's really going to enjoy it. And I'm sure there will be some amazing stories on here. As Nancy's dating situation progresses and maybe something serious happens and both of you guys have found stuff and maybe you end up not being swiping online, are you going to have to figure out what to do with the show? What's going to happen? Is Cindy going to have to end her relationship with her guy to get back into this dating scene to try to get the show back on if it's a big hit?
I don't think so. I think it's going to evolve. And I think that because it is a part of, Nancy's really funny and I'm more of the, clinical person. I think that we're going to kind of evolve into moving forward and helping people, just be healthier and really like themselves. And because there's all kinds of relationships and it's not just the relationship that you have that you might find online, but when you get in those relationships, you have relationships with new family members and new people. And I think that's going to evolve and the show is going to evolve into that direction.
I like that theme. Nancy, have anything else to add?
I think it'll become less about us and our experiences and more about the people that we meet along the way. Where certainly, we'll be able to connect with people because we have this shared experience, but to bring forward more of what's going on out there. And I think it'll be useful for people to go, you know what, I'm not alone in this. There's other people that are going through similar circumstances. And to kind of take this to another level, I'm actually working on a new speech right now where I'm looking at it on the whole world of dating in this time is one aspect of it. But I think if we look across all of social media and all the ways that we have to stay connected to people, how many of the people, so my 811 as of today, LinkedIn followers, how many of them am I going to call when I want to really have a great conversation or say, can we meet for dinner? Can we meet for coffee? Not that many of that group.
It's a good.
So we're maybe more lonely, yet more wired into people. And I want to explore that.
I like this. And I'm going to say this, that you cannot thrive without truly powerful connections. And I think what you guys are doing is great. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think you guys hopefully get to enjoy it along the way. And I love the message that both of you are putting out there is that there's a lesson learned from all of this. So it won't just be, good entertainment. It'll really be some value that you take in. And I think adding that to the world is going to help people move from those screens to the scene. So very excited and very excited for both of you and want to wish you the best of luck as your show kicks off pretty soon after this episode airs, I believe. So with that, thank you guys, Nancy and Cindy, for coming on Thrive Loud.
Hey, thank you for having us on your show. It's been really a lot of fun.
Absolutely. And to all our Thrive Loud listeners out there, thank you for joining us. And until next time, keep thriving onward and upward. And remember, be brief, be bright, be gone.
Your Honors, at this time, I'd like to present a compilation of general misjudgments. Half of them fear-based, half of them just stupid. I've assembled 164 misjudgments over a 12-year period.
You've been listening to Thrive Loud with your host, Lou Diamond. Make sure to subscribe on iTunes, Overcast, or wherever you get your podcasts. And follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Thrive Loud. Or find us on the web at thriveloud.com.